This is Majo John Madden broadcasting from one of my regular spots away from Main Street, where I go in this little pueblo of El Diamante to shoot videos, because Main Street is a carretera, interstate highway with a lot of truck traffic that breaks to a halt for the speed bumps and then grind their gears as they rev up. It can be incredibly noisy. And I needed a walk today, big time. And this is just the beginning of the walk I'll take. It's about I walked maybe 15 minutes back in on one of the side roads. This is a barbecue joint that does get used a little bit. I've been by here once in the evening when it actually was being used. El Diamante suffers from too many restaurants, something like 10 restaurants right on Main Street, and none of them make a living, but the consciousness they have in this town is that this is life. You do not leave El Diamante. And I keep going back and forth, mispronouncing it as the El Damiante, where somewhere I got the notion that that translated as demon. I don't think that's literally true. El Diamante is diamond, which is a great word. It's been both to me. It's been a wonderful place for me to slow down and ground myself and have access to a Wi-Fi at the restaurant where they have taken me and his family to have family. But nobody around here who speaks English much. So communication means using the Google Translator app, which is really awkward. I wrote a really important little message to my best friend in the family, a woman named Elia. And as I handed the phone over to her for her to play it, her phone was ringing. So she was attempting to pay attention to it, listening to it while her phone was ringing, and it didn't land, really. She was not, there was no way she could really respond to it. And there's no way they can really adequately respond to me, because their lives are so different, and I am so different. Oh my God, I'm a creature from another planet. And they love me. They're awfully good to me, and I've been really good to them. And I'm going to be here another 3 weeks because I don't have enough money. It turned out my car repairs, I'm here because I broke down, and my car repairs have turned out to be more than twice as expensive as the guy thought, and I won't have the money to finish the work until my next check on the 29th of this month, and today is the 12th of July. I'm pretty much of a wreck today, broken open. Mexico has been spectacularly wonderful, amazing, mind-blowing for me. It's been a dream to live here. I spent many months brainstorming how to get across the border with a car that had expired plates, and no way to get that fixed without going back to North Carolina, which I was not going to do. So it's been a chaotic 4 months tomorrow that I've been in Mexico. I'm illegal here. I haven't had a traffic stop, but I park in places where people don't expect a camper van. And I've had, I think, 10 visits from police, and each one could potentially get my car impounded, could potentially land me in jail. I'm driving without a license legally, without insurance, nothing. Now, lots of people say in Mexico that's not going to be a problem for you, and so far it hasn't. On all these 10 stops, the only 2 occasions where they actually noticed that I had expired tags, one of them I thought it was going to be big trouble, and finally they just said, okay, bye, have a good night. Just blew it off. And the next time they extorted a bunch of money from me. They did. It became a very expensive stop. That's not been the case at all. That was the only time ever that anything like that has happened to me with the police, who had been overall quite wonderful. Language, I have been traveling. I thought I was going to make a beeline to the Yucatan Peninsula, where I have friends and where I picture myself potentially settling. My vision is a sleepy little beach community where I can be in the ocean every day and with access to people with time and money who will pay me for coaching. And I've developed a couple of my own products that in little test versions have been really powerful for people. I 4 years ago had a huge spiritual experience on June 26th of 2019. So I'm not the person I ever was before. And it is a spiritual teacher who's had a big impact on me is Ramana Maharshi, and his question always was, who are you? He says the only question that counts, because our spiritual goal in this world is to remember who we really are, which is God, which is everything, oneness with everything. And I have access to that information on an ongoing basis. My ego got removed from me pretty much 4 years ago, which included devastating personal history of 30 years of misdiagnosed as bipolar, because the spiritual crisis I had in my early 40s got misdiagnosed, and 30 years of being on soul-killing drugs. So when I had my spiritual experience 4 years ago, I proceeded to get off all those drugs patiently with a psychiatrist and got happier and happier. So mostly I'm happy all the time, but I'm also prone to grieving for so many things, for the state of the world, the state of the U.S., for my brothers and sisters who lead such tiny little lives everywhere I go. Most of the people I see have no idea who they really are. They're so far away from remembering that they are one with God. And they lead tiny little lives and do terrible things to each other a lot of the time. In this town, that's not so much the case. It's really an amazingly peaceful, sweet town. And this extended family that I've had so much contact with are the happiest, sweetest, most loving people I've ever encountered, the most functional family I've ever seen, and tiny little view of the world. They're Jehovah's Witnesses. Their religion is really in many ways quite a tiny little religion. But it works for them, and they're beautiful people, but there's no way they would have any concept of how do I begin to tell them who I really am. And that's been the story of 4 years. A lot of loneliness. I don't believe it makes me a saint or extraordinary. I think this waking up process is what everybody's meant to go through, and there are lots of people. I encounter people on the road who I just recognize that they're doing it too. And through literature, Richard Bach, who wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull, but then another book called Illusions, Reflections of a Reluctant Messiah, clearly had a very similar experience to me. Eckhart Tolle did, he's famous. Byron Katie, somewhat less famous, but a very powerful spiritual teacher who gave up. They both gave up, let go, let God rush in and take over their lives, and became a different kind of being. And I am a different kind of being. Broke in Mexico. 4 years of traveling on just a Social Security check. The second half of the month I'm always broke. Here in Mexico, where my check should stretch further, I'm up to about $2,500 worth of car repairs in my 4 months, which has kept me quite strapped. And the most part of the whole process has been life asking me to let go of everything I've been attached to in the past. I let go of Asheville, North Carolina, idyllic mountain town where I thought I'd be happy forever. And then a year after I woke up of rambling the mountains of the Blue Ridge Mountains of Western North Carolina, I was so happy up there. It was also chaotic because all these changes were so new, and I had totally changed my lifestyle to living and traveling full-time in a camper van. But it was a pretty idyllic time in many ways. And then I got super allergic on the same day that my dog Pancho got super allergic to the spring in those mountains. And we got thrown out of paradise there, but discovered that really I'm meant to be by the ocean. And I've had pretty amazing travels since then, including going home to my hometown, Chicago, which was quite important, and my son's hometown, Louisville, Kentucky, which was important to nail down the fact that there's no way he's going to get over his crazy story he's invented about I never was there for him. He lives a mile away from his mom, who feels that same way, that I ruined her life by leaving her, and he's bought into that story. So that was kind of devastating, and I spent the summer of 21 also in Louisville confronting racism and trying to work for justice for Breonna Taylor, which was a really good experience for me, but hard. You know, life is asking me to confront all the hard stuff in the world and in me. Now, the part that's uniquely, personally traumatic and devastating for me, I'm close to my dogs. I am extraordinarily talented with dogs, and my last two dogs, since I woke up, have been pretty awake dogs themselves, have turned into quite stunning creatures. And the last one, the best ever, Magic, I found him a year and a half ago, basically. 2 days after Pancho had died, Magic turned up on a swamp trail north of New Orleans, and he is, I'm saying is, I don't know if he's still alive. My story is that he's been found by somebody else and is having a good life. He's so smart and so beautiful and so well behaved and athletic. I'm betting that somebody recognized that, and he didn't like travel much. He didn't like the car, did not like the life of travel, that he's getting to be with someone who lets him have lots of freedom and exercise, but not have to spend so much time in the car. And there was a time, after 8 years of always have a dog at my side, there was a time that I am needing to start doing coaching with people. And broken down here, I've had to take buses and cabs, and none of that would work with a dog. So almost every day I say, see, this day wouldn't have worked with a dog. I'm meant to not have a dog. But I never would have voluntarily separated from that dog. I adored him so much. And the process by which we got separated was incredibly devastating and traumatic day that I still haven't told anybody about. No. But in the last 2 days, I pulled myself out of El Diamante after 2 days of railing about, it's too small for me, I gotta get out of here. I found out that my car is not gonna be ready to go as fast as I thought. So I said, well, let's get on the bus and go to Martinez, the nearest biggest town, 2-hour bus ride. But it meant retracing my steps from where my dog had gone away. And waiting at the bus stop, I cried for an hour, and I thought I would for 2 days, but I got so involved in the life of Martinez and all the excitement there. And I mostly just made videos of the route where we had been. I got pictures of the last couple places we had been, and was excited and happy and not having an emotional response then, but today it's catching up to me. Life got me on a pretty radical path. Not saying you're not going to get to sweep anything under the rug. You have to heal everything, and you have to be detached from everything. You have to be nimble, free to move, free to do whatever. If we choose for you to have to get on planes and go get interviewed places, you'll be free to do that. Or if you're needing to go to the nearby resort and do coaching with people, you'll be free to do that. Or if you're just going to drive to the Yucatan, which is a lot of miles. And now I'm free to go to Mexico City, which I was going to not attempt to do, and free to go to San Miguel de Allende, amazing destination where I almost moved 12 years ago. I can go there now. Would not have been able to do that with the big dog who wants to run. So I'm shocked and overwhelmed, and said to Miguel, the father, 76 like me, who we talk, I I tried to tell some of this to him, which he's a good guy and he likes me and he wants to understand, but I come from such a different world. And even the emotionality of saying I'm blown out from retracing the steps with my dog. He's a laid back guy. I don't think any of that, he doesn't have a place to receive it. He didn't even respond. I think he didn't know what to say. So finally I said, I'm going for a long walk. I think I need that, and I do. And so I'm going to get back on my pony, my 2 kids, my 2 feet, and walk further into the country here, and probably cry some more. I cried a lot walking here. Or whatever. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll start getting happy right now. We'll see. Okay.